Hi again. Here we are to continue talking about the shopping cart and some JavaScript and learning JavaScript. In the last video we set up this remove button here, which allows us to remove an item, right? So I can add a couple items there, and if I do that and I click remove, it removes all of the items. What I'd like to do now is create two buttons that let me add a single item. This will increase the quantity, or remove an item by decrementing the quantity, right? And actually, I think you have enough information right now to do that with what we have here, right? So if you review that last video and you look at the code that you wrote that time, I think you could probably figure it out, right? So give it a try if you want on your own, and then I'll go through it in a minute. So you can stop the video and try it out, see how far you get, and then you can come back here and see what my solution is, right? And our solutions might be a little bit different too, okay? So give that a try. Okay, so how did you do? Did you figure it out? Let's go over it. So essentially the idea is, first we'll have to add another button down here and give that button a class name, right? And actually two buttons, one for add and one for remove, right? So I'm in the show items function, and this generates each of these list items here, right? Let's add another list item there. Right, and there we can see it gets added, right? So every time we add one of these, everything you see inside here, including the button, right, is generated right here, right, inside this block or this string, right? So what I'd like to do is I'd like to add another button. I'm going to copy the previous button, right, and I'll give it a new class name. So I'll call it add1, okay? And then it'll have data name on it again. And I'll just put the plus sign in here for the text. And then I'll add another one, and I'll say, how about let's make this remove1, okay? And then this will be like minus for the text on the button. So if I save this and I refresh here in the browser, you can see that I get all the items, and they all have a minus button and a plus button. And these don't do anything yet, but we'll have to handle a click on those, right? And we can do that the same way that we handled the click on the remove button, okay? So when I go up here to item list on click, right, you could have added another function to handle this one, but actually we can do it inside here, because this is anytime you click on the list itself. So we can check, we can say like, hey, if we have a target, because sometimes this could come back as undefined or some other value, so let's just make sure that exists. And if the class list of that target element contains the word remove, then do the stuff here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say else if, right? So that means like, hey, if we didn't do this first one, let's check the condition here, and if this is okay, we'll do the second block, okay? And what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to borrow this line of code here, paste it inside the parentheses there. So I've got e.target and e.target class list contains. And remember, we have to add one. We have a add one, right? And then I'm going to do another else if here, right? Because remember, our add one button has the class name add1, right? Or an add button. And then I'm going to do another else if, and I'll put in all the the code syntax there. And then I'll borrow this, right? And this one says target e.target.class list, and then this one says add one, but remember the other button is remove one, right? So I'll make this one say remove one. Now I think our code doesn't actually allow us to add a new item. I guess actually we can call add item, and if it's got the same name, it'll add one more. So actually, no, you know what, our code can handle that, right? So what we need to do is we need to get the name of the item and then call the method, right? And remember, if we call remove item with a number, it'll remove that number of items, right? Or decrement the quantity, right? So first of all, for add one, So add one wants to call, actually wants to get the name first. So we'll say name, and actually I can just copy this line of code right here. So I've got the name, and remember we're getting the name from the data set, and we put data.name or data-name on our button, right? So we've got that, and now we want to call, you know, add item with the name. Okay, and we don't need to include the price because it'll just add one at this point because this one should already exist, right? Okay, and then down here, what we'll do is we'll call remove item. Actually, I guess we got to get the name first too. So let me paste that again. So I've got const name is, you know, e.target.dataset.name, and then we'll remove this name, but this time we'll remove only one item. Okay, so and let's kind of review that, right? So if you call add item without any price, then down here, if I called it with name only, so let's say this says Apple, but there's no price, right? What will happen here is name will be Apple and price will be undefined. We'll loop through the cart list and we'll look at the name of every item in the cart. And the only reason we could have clicked add over here is because there would already be an apple in the cart. So if there's an apple in the cart, the price is kind of irrelevant because we'll loop through, we'll find the name, matches the name of an existing item, and then we'll just bump the quantity by 1 and then refresh the list. Okay? With remove item, if we look at remove item here, if you don't include the quantity, then quantity is 0, right? And if you do include the quantity, like let's say we included a 1, then quantity will be 1. And so if quantity is greater than 0, then we'll subtract that value, that number, from the current quantity of the item. Okay? So let's save all that and then we'll give it a try here. So I'll refresh this. And then I'm going to click on the button here, and you can see I added 1. Now it says 4 apples and 5 and 6. We'll do the number formatting next time, right? And then if I go over to opinions and I click, you know, 5, 6, or I can click -1 and they remove. Now, if I get to 0 opinions, it should remove the whole item. It should be like clicking this button, right? So if I click this one, then you can see that one's removed from the list. So, oh, everything's working pretty good. So anyway, thanks for watching. I hope that's interesting to you. And we'll continue with this in the next video. We're almost done, okay? There's just, I guess, yeah, you know, all we got to do is add this field here that'll let us set the quantity, right? So if I type in like 12 here and hit return, it should update to 12. So we need to add this, and then we just need to add some style. Okay. Anyway, so thanks for watching. If you got any questions, you know, feel free to add them to the comments, and I'll see you later.